Welcome, everyone. My name is Ben Gromicko. I'm from InterNACHI, that's the International Association of Certified Home Inspectors. And this is a free, online, live, interactive webinar that we do, once a month or so. And this one is all about performing a home inspection, but we can talk about other things as well. A few logistics. You should be able to see me. I can't see you, so don't worry about that. You should be able to hear me. I can't hear you. And so how this works is we had a couple hundred, almost 300 people registered for the webinar. So we're not going to turn our cameras on. What we're going to do is use the question and answer feature to ask your questions. You can use the chat feature as well, but the Q&A feature is much better for me and for you probably, because if someone asks a good question, you could give it a thumbs up and it gets bumped up to the top of the list. And I will try to answer all of your questions. That's the whole point of this. We're all on the contact page at InterNACHI. There's more than 24 people who work for you, full-time InterNACHI staff at nachi.org/contact. Our pictures are there too if you wanted to see us. But if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. And this is an InterNACHI membership benefit that you may not be taking full advantage of. So you have a couple dozen people who work for you so that you succeed as a home inspector and have a successful home inspection business. You can't hire that. You can't hire 24 people. It's just a free membership benefit. So InterNACHI is a large trade organization, a membership trade organization. You pay a membership fee to join the organization and you get lots of membership benefits. One of them is one of the fun things that we do, the InterNACHI webinars, and that's at nachi.org/webinars. The webinars are free, online, interactive, and open to everyone, members and non-members alike, just like this class. In this class, we're going to perform a home inspection according to the home inspection standards of practice. We're going to review nearly 300 inspection videos and inspection images and video from the inspection. I performed the inspection. We're going to read the inspection report, a 49-page home inspection report. And along the way, let's talk about anything you want, like starting a home inspection business, growing an existing business, making more money, marketing strategies, inspection checklists, and report writing software, and anything else you like. Feel free to ask questions. Use the Q&A feature, and then you can also vote up the questions that you want to see first. It's going to take maybe 2 hours. I'm not sure. Could be less, could be more. We'll see how it goes. We may have to take a lunch break in between. I don't know where you are all over the world. We have members and home inspectors all over the world, but feel free to ask questions. And if you're watching this video, thanks for watching the video. Feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on Instagram and Twitter and all that good stuff as well. And you may be listening to this as a podcast episode. We have a home inspector podcast as well. You're going to miss out on the pictures and video, but you'll have a good time anyways. So thank you so much. We're going to inspect this house. John asks, do we have to purchase anything in order to get a free logo design? So InterNACHI has a marketing team that works for you, 7 highly professional, creative individuals, illustrators, designers, and consultants. They all work for you. They design things like logos for your business, certification logos. We also design flyers and brochures. Let's say you have an existing logo, we'll redesign it. You could wrap an entire 18-wheel truck with that logo. So you could use it in many different ways. Get a free logo design from the marketing team. How it works is, if you're going to be in business, you need marketing anyways. So you can go to like Vistaprint, good company. You can go somewhere else online and order business cards or flyers. I recommend InterNACHI's marketing team because we only deal with we only serve home inspectors. So we're really good. We're focused with a niche focused service. And you buy a box of cards or some flyers, or customize a home maintenance book or something like that when you're marketing, like a door hanger, customized door hanger, we'll design that for you. You buy that product and we'll design it. So we used to do free logo designs, but we got overwhelmed with the free service. So yeah, essentially you buy, I would recommend if you're new, buy a box of business cards, and you'll have a discussion with a consultant at InterNACHI's marketing team, and we'll help you design that business card, and we'll design a logo, and we'll go back and forth until you're happy. And then you get that box of business cards you can pass out. But you also get the marketing design work, and then all that marketing design work is free. So you just buy the box of cards and all the design work is free. I would do that first. And then you can use that logo anywhere. The logo, the business logo that we designed for you, you can put it on your website and things like that. I have a couple offers for non-members. So if you are a non-member only, and you want to join InterNACHI, we can give you a 1 month free trial membership, an entire month membership for free. You go to nachi.org/free, nachi.org/ that's on the keyboard, that's near the question mark, /free. And you enter the code webinar month, one word, webinar month. If you're a non-member and you'd like to join at a discount for an entire year, we have a 50% discount. So you go to nachi.org/free and you enter the code webinar. And that 50% discount is off of your first year membership. It's regularly $4.99, so it would be $249.50 with the discount. You can't use both codes. InterNACHI, leading organization of residential and commercial property inspectors at nachi.org. Visit us there. We have the only accredited home inspector college in the world. We're accredited by the U.S. Department of Education, one of their accrediting agencies. Visit us at internachi.edu. That edu tells you a lot. It's not .com. Take a look at your unaccredited schools out there. If it's .com, beware. Attend a free live online class using InterNACHI's webinars system at nachi.org/webinar. We also have a home inspector podcast, and that's at nachi.org/podcast. So we have a lot to offer. We didn't even get into the class yet. Everything you need, we kind of put it on a page to get you started. If you don't know anything about InterNACHI, I'd visit nachi.org/everything, nachi.org/everything. Okay, let's get back to business and inspect this house. And if you're attending this webinar live and you're an InterNACHI member, you get CE credit, so you can upload that into your account. I see some questions already, but let's start a little bit with the home inspections and then we'll go back, okay? And remember, you can upvote questions that you like. When I begin a home inspection, well, I think about process. And what you want to do is you want to standardize your process. You work on standardizing your process, not just for yourself, but possibly for your entire team of inspectors, right? You may be the single person, the only person in your company, but really your goal might be, I don't want to assume anything, to grow and hire people, maybe an office manager, right? And there's standardized processes for that individual, maybe other inspectors, and there's certainly standardized processes for that. So it starts with a foundation. What are you required to inspect and not required to inspect during a home inspection? And it's already written out for you. And that's the Home Inspection Standards of Practice, nachi.org/SOP. The SOP, we call it, lists everything you're required to do and not required to do. And you want to share that with your clients so you can help set their expectations. A lot of clients may have the wrong expectations of your service. So you want to follow a standards of practice. And remember, the standards of practice is the absolute minimum of what you're required to do by law, right? That is the absolute minimum, the bottom of the boat, the bottom layer, the lowest rung, the lowest standard, the absolute minimum thing a home inspector is required to do down here. So what I realized was over the years, my clients simply demanded me to do more. So you may see during this home inspection how I exceed the standards of practice, and that's okay. You're allowed to exceed the standards of practice because, remember, it's down here. It's a minimum. It's a minimum standards of practice. And when I show up to a home inspection, I like to show up early. Where I'm from, if you show up on time, you're late. So it was a good practice to start my home inspection early. And basically, I did 2 inspections a day, 5 to 6 days a week. And then I got smart and I realized that I'm not the only person who could do a great inspection for my company. And we started to grow because we standardized the inspection process. I started on the outside, not just the exterior, but the roof. And I inspect the roof first. And then I move to the exterior. And then about that time, my client shows up. So that's about a half hour early. If I can get 2 jobs in, one starting at 8 a.m., another one starting at noon, I'll be home before 5. I'll start my day at about 7, do 2 inspections, bring home about $1,000 gross revenue. We can talk about that as well. And my first one is 8 o'clock, goes to about 3 for about 3 hours. I get a little lunch break. I drive and eat lunch at the same time. I hit my 12 o'clock and then I come home before. That's a pretty good day for each inspector at my company. Well, again, I start with the SOP. First thing I start with is the roof. Now, let's click the SOP. Have you been there? You should share the SOP with your clients. So this is the home inspection standards of practice. I'll zoom it in a little bit. And you scroll down and there are the sections. There's roof, exterior, basement, foundation, crawl space structure, heating, cooling, plumbing, electrical, fireplace, attic insulation, ventilation, doors, windows, and interior. If you go to roof, it says the inspector shall inspect from ground level or the eaves. Ground level or the eaves. You're not required to walk upon any roof surface, right? And here's the roof that I'm inspecting. This is actually the back side of the roof. And it looks like it's nice and shiny, like the sun is beating off of it. Well, it's actually covered with snow. So during this inspection of a townhouse, you can see in this picture, the front is hit by the sun. You can see their asphalt shingles, kind of brown in color, but the backside is actually covered with snow. There's a nice layer of snow there. So the standards of practice, you're not required to walk upon any roof, but I try to. But if I can't, I'm not going to. It's incredibly safe. A fall from a ladder could be fatal. Do not do it. You're not required to have a ladder. The word ladder is not a required piece of equipment in the standards of practice. So you're not required to go up there. Don't. It's very dangerous. You could break a leg from the second rung of a ladder. I built houses and installed roofs before I became a home inspector. So I was a home builder. So I was kind of familiar and trained in using ladders, tall ladders. I would bring very tall ladders, 28-foot fiberglass, 32-foot fiberglass, 12-foot aluminum, 40-foot aluminum, step ladders, and crawl space gear in between. That was part of my brand. I tried to get up to the roof. Didn't really like inspecting the roof from the ground. I like to get up there as best I can. I didn't have to get on it, but I usually did. And I'm not required to. So again, the standards of practice is the minimum, and I tended to exceed the minimum for all of my clients in a consistent way. Every client could expect me to bring a ladder and try to get to the roof, at least to the gutter edge. So this is an inspection restriction, and I put it as an inspection restriction and limitation in my inspection report. And I tell my client orally, verbally, that I can't inspect the roof, actually. And I could come back the next day or some other time if they would like. And you can decide in your business plan whether you charge for that re-inspection or not due to an inspection restriction. As you can see, there's snow on the ground there. So I'm behind the townhouse now. There's a bit of a hill behind there. And I'm looking at the ground and the roof with my camera, and I'm zooming in. I really can't say too much. But I do grab my ladder from my truck, from the driveway in the front, and I bring it on back and I set it up against the house here. And I pay attention to my feet, the feet of the ladder, the 1:4 ratio. For every 4 feet vertical, you want to move that ladder away from the house 1 foot. So it's leaning up against the house. And we have a safe practices for the home inspector course. It's free and online, safe practices for the home inspector course. And it's open to everyone, members and non-members alike. You don't have to have a credit card to take this course. So it's nachi.org/safety_course. And inside there's a large section about ladder safety, how to set it up, how to use one, how to carry one, and things like that. And that's actually a defect there. I'm not extending my ladder, as you can see, far enough above the gutter edge. It should be at least 3 feet up. So I get up on the roof. No, I didn't get up on the roof. I got up to the roof using my ladder up to the gutter, and I take some pictures, and I see the vent stacks coming through the roof. Remember, my client hasn't even shown up yet. I'm taking a picture there. That's a really nice, tight picture of the shingles and the installation of the flashing around the vent pipe. There's the gutter. There's the drip edge. There's the edge of the shingles. There's the shingles themselves. I can pull up on the edge of the shingle layer if I wanted to take maybe a look at the decking, the underlayment, the fastening, but I'm not required to, right? The standards of practice is my foundation of my inspection process. It limits me, but allows me to exceed it as well. So I can take a look at things that the standards of practice doesn't necessarily list, but I don't have to even report upon those things, right? So I'm not required to inspect the fastening. It would be impossible. Why? Because it's not visible. There are a lot of things with the roof system that are not visible. So is a home inspector required to inspect the roof system? No. You're required to inspect the roof covering materials. Why? Because that's all that's visible to you, unless there's snow covering it. So the roof system, careful what you say in your report. You're not inspecting the roof system because, by building standard and code, a system is a group of parts put together. So that could include, if you're saying I'm inspecting the roof system, well, then you must be inspecting the underlayment, the decking, the underlayment, and the fastening, and the flashing, and all of that stuff. A lot of it, most of it, is not even visible. So make sure you're inspecting the roof covering or the roof covering material only and reporting upon your observations. So there's the gutter there. To exceed or not to exceed, it can get a little confusing. So we wrote an article. Our legal department wrote an article about exceeding the standards of practice. And it's at that URL. Sorry for those who are just listening. There's the gutter there. I can't reach. I don't want to reach. It's too high for me to get up on the roof from the front. But I can take a look with my eyes, binoculars if you have them, a zoom feature on your mobile device or your camera if you have that. Oh, I can see some fogged windows. Let's see if I can do this. I'll bring this in. Yeah. So some fogged window panes I see at the dormer. I'm not sure if this is a finished attic or unfinished attic, but I'm taking a look at the roof surface here, the shingles here. And there's flashing here. There's flashing at the dormer, flashing here at the front of the dormer, flashing here. Here's the gutter and downspout for the front. And there's a little porch roof here in the front. Taking a look at that as well. I don't see any missing shingles. So that's pretty good on the front part. But there is a severe inspection restriction. And sometimes I'll do a video as well, just to record the inspection restrictions with a video. Now, if you don't know how to inspect a roof, it's okay. If you need maybe a refresher or some CE, we have a large amount of education that's available to members online. Some of the courses, a handful, are for non-members. But one of the benefits of being an InterNACHI member is you have free online, unlimited access to the free online courses at nachi.org/education. So if you wanted to learn how to inspect a roof, you go to our education page, nachi.org/education, and you enter roof. Let me just show you how to do that. So we go to nachi.org education. There's a search for courses over here, and you type in roof. And on the right side, you can see many courses pop up. There's the general roof. There's advanced residential roof inspection course. If you're in South Africa, we have a course. We have a course on inspecting slate roofs and metal roofs and tile roofs, and the general roof course, and it just goes on and on and on. So go to our education page and type in any topic that you want to learn about. According to the Home Inspection Standards of Practice, the inspector shall inspect from ground level or the eaves, not required to walk upon any roof surface, the roof covering materials. It doesn't say roof system, roof covering materials. The gutters, the downspouts, the vents, flashing, skylights, chimneys, other roof penetrations, and the general structure. So the roof covering materials, inspection is restricted, right? I can't see what's going on. There could be defects there. Major defects. Could be all messed up. There could be cracking. There could even be missing pieces. I really don't see any missing pieces here, but it's just an inspection restriction. I have to inform my client of this inspection restriction with pictures, video, and words. Something like this. The visual inspection of the roof covering material was restricted by the snow. I was unable to see the roof covering. I recommend an inspection at a later date when the roof is accessible and the roof covering is observable. I really don't mention a real estate transaction, not in this sentence. Maybe some other sentence. You could feel free to add this recommendation must be completed or fulfilled or followed before you move into the house or before closing or something like that, or within 30 days. You can feel free to add that. This is just an example narrative of me explaining to my client, I really can't see anything. And if there is a defect here, let's say there's a hole in the roof and it's covered by snow. Am I responsible for it? When my client moves in, do I have to pay for that hole in the roof? So no, the answer is you're not responsible for every defect in a home that you're inspecting. You're really only responsible for one particular type of defect. It's called a material defect. That's a serious one. It's defined in the standards of practice. It's something that will hurt someone, have an unreasonable risk, poses an unreasonable risk to someone, or has an adverse impact on the value of the property. Let's say the entire house is filled with mold. It's just obvious. It's just filled, right? If there's a hole in the roof right here and I can't see it, I can't report upon it. Therefore, I'm not responsible for it. You're only responsible for reporting the material defects defined in the standards practice, the material defects that you both observe and deem to be material. So if there's a hole in the roof right there, can't see it. If I don't see it, I can't possibly report upon it. It may exist, but I'm not responsible for every defect that exists. Only those that I observe and deem to be material. Now you'll find that your clients will want to know, is there anything wrong with the house? And they may even point out some cosmetic defects on the floor, like some torn carpeting or burn mark or some scuffing of the drywall or something like that. You can put that in the report. Remember, the standards of practice is a minimum. You can exceed that in order to take care of your clients. So according to the Home Inspection Standards of Practice, a home inspection report shall identify in written format defects within specific systems and components defined by the standards that are both observed and deemed to be material by the inspector. They may include additional comments and recommendations, and the material defect is defined in the standards of practice. So are there other types of defects that I could observe? Sure. It's up to you whether you want to define them or not. The glossary of definitions of terms that InterNACHI provides may be helpful, and you visit there, nachi.org/glossary, and you enter the word defect. I'll do it right now. And we're going to search the glossary, and there's material defect that we just went over. There's major defect. You don't have to use these terms, remember. There's minor defect and there's cosmetic defect. So in the glossary, there are 4 different types of defects, but you may not want to describe everything, every observation as a defect or not, right? You may want to describe it in a narrative that kind of explains your observation. What about code violations? Well, a home inspection is not a code inspection. A home inspector is not a code inspector. So you may want to make that very clear in your report, in your agreement with your client, that this is not a code inspection. They're very different. Oh, if you pick up the code book is inches thick, and everything in the code book is your responsibility when you're a code inspector. That's not what we're doing. Remember the process, the foundation upon which you build a successful home inspection business is the standards of practice. So let's see, where are we? We did that. There. So according to the standards of practice, the inspector shall inspect from ground level or eaves the gutters. And we did that. You can take a look at these pictures here of the gutters in the back, at least. And what do you think that is? The red arrow is pointing to. It's an exhaust, it's a downspout pipe, but it's not connected to the gutter. Why? What is going on with a downspout pipe that is not connected to the gutter that terminates near the gutter? Well, it's probably an exhaust for a radon fan. And we'll take a closer look at that later on. You're required to inspect the downspouts, and there's the downspout there in the front. But what about the downspout in the front? See, I performed inspections in Pennsylvania. It's a cold climate there, and there's freeze and thaw. And when there's snow on the roof, it freezes, obviously, and then it melts maybe, and the water comes down the downspout, dumps on the driveway or walking surface, and then it freezes again overnight. So over time, this becomes just a nuisance, a hazard, a trip hazard. It just creates ice. This is an ice maker right here. Ice makers don't have to be inside a refrigerator. This is an ice maker when the conditions are right in your geographical area. This can just create a huge mess of ice on your driveway right at the bottom of these stairs. So this is going beyond the standards of practice, but I'm going to put it in the report as something to monitor and possibly correct if it actually happens that this is an ice maker. Ideally, downspouts do not discharge on walking surfaces in any climate, warm climate or cold climates especially. And I also noticed while I'm walking around and I'm inspecting, maybe my inspection, remember my inspection process right now, I'm doing roof and then I'm moving down as the water flows. Roof surfaces, gutters, downspouts, grading, and I see a gas meter right next to the downspout. Now I know that's okay if it was in the yard, but it actually has driveway asphalt wrapped around it. So this is part of the driveway. What if it would never happen, right? 1 in a million chances. What if a car comes up and bumps into the gas meter? Because there's no protection. There's no, I think you pronounce it bollard, the post. There's no metal or iron or concrete post or something, a barrier, not even a curb barrier where your car wheel hits, right? The parking little bump, right? There's no curb, nothing to protect that gas meter from being hit by an automobile. The gas meter is essentially located in the driveway. So I've got a couple recommendations that are far exceeding the standards of practice. That's okay. The gas meter really should be protected, and the downspout should be moved, possibly if it becomes a nuisance. I don't know if someone's going to hit the gas meter. I don't know if this is an ice maker. I'm not responsible for future events. I'm not responsible for future conditions. I can just maybe guess what might happen and make recommendations based upon the severity of what would happen, what would result. There's the downspout. I'm not responsible for underground drainage pipes. The downspout in the back is going in an underground drainage pipe. I'm not responsible for that, but I'll take a picture of it. And I see something strange. You can see it here. There's another pipe, looks like a 2-inch PVC pipe going into the underground flexible drainage pipe with silicone. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I actually do. It's a sump pump. If you trace it back, it's the sump pump. We'll talk about that later. You're required to inspect vents. Well, you got the soffit vents, and you got a ridge vent on top, according to the inspection image there. You're required to inspect flashing. Well, that's difficult if you can't get close, but I can take a look from where I'm at. There's this dormer, and that's just a great place for, there's step and counter flashing here, apron flashing, and then, well, the roof probably has a ridge up to the plane and slope, and there's flashing and step and flashing there. And then there's also flashing, like if I was going to put my ladder up here, as I'm coming down, I'm going to inspect the siding and where the flashing, the head flashing is around the windows and the doors as I come around. And there's flashing here. I could see it. That's installed well. There's a little flashing there. And on the back, not many there's flashing around the vent pipes for sure. And there's vent there and the ridge vent. But where one dwelling unit meets another, there's something going on here. So I want to take a look where the two shingle roofs meet. There isn't a stem wall or another wall here. Hopefully there's a firewall in the attic that I can see. And then there's a flashing around the vent pipes coming up. This looks like the main vent stack there, according to the diameter. Skylights, no skylights. Chimney, there's no fireplace. Roof penetrations, well, yeah, that could be a chimney. You can consider that a chimney, but these vent pipes coming through, that's the roof penetrations, and they're flashed. And required to inspect the general structure of the roof from the readily accessible panels and doors and stairs. So that means the attic space, unfinished attic space underneath the roof deck, the structural deck. This is a truss-built roof. These are trusses. There's the vent pipe, is one of the vent pipes that we saw in the previous picture. There's the firewall in between the two units. And the vent pipe is supported. And the roof structure is plywood. You can see the H-clips. If you don't know what an H-clip is, that's okay. It's in the roof inspection course. And there's the truss there, and it's fastened there and there and there. And the white stuff is fiberglass insulation, blown in fiberglass insulation. There's no flooring, so the inspection is restricted in some ways, but there we are there. I don't see any water marks around the vents. If there is a water problem, it's usually below on the lower part of the sloped deck there. Plywood with the marking, and then the plywood is solid here at the ridge, and then it's cut open here. Remember, there's a ridge vent. So we have soffit vents and ridge vents, and there's that window, remember, in the fogged window panes. So required to report upon fogged window panes. I'm going to report upon that, even though this is it's not a livable space. And that's where I park, and that's my truck. So you can see the ladders and my truck there, my van. Great inspection vehicle. Loved having a van as my inspection vehicle. It's plenty of room for my tools and a big ladder rack. And that was kind of like, our inspectors use vans and big ladders like that. And that was part of our brand. So when we pulled up, we're big, fully equipped, a lot of ladders, big trucks. And I never parked in the driveway next to the house. I allowed my clients to park there, or the agents to park there. I kind of parked away, and that's okay. So there's the roof structure from underneath as required by the standards of practice. According to the home inspection standards of practice, the inspector shall describe the type of roof covering materials. Remember, we're not inspecting or reporting upon anything that we can't see, right? So the roof covering is not the system, not the underlayment, not the fastening, not the decking. According to the home inspection standards of practice, the inspector shall report as in need of correction, observe indications of active roof leaks. I don't see anything going on there. I don't even see any watermarks or indications of a prior roof leak. And now the exterior. So that's the first system. There are several systems, depending on how you look at it. It could be 9, it could be 7, 9, 12, depending on how you count them. But there are systems there. And the next system is the exterior. Before we get there, let me take a look at some of the questions, yeah? And feel free to chat with each other. Remember, I can't really see the chats. Can't pay attention to the chats, but feel free to discuss things. And I'll take a look at the questions here. Gavin asks, how do you recommend starting out day one as an inspector? Look for other NACHI inspectors and work for them. Introduce yourself to realtors. What are some good basic first steps as a newly minted home inspector? That's a great question. And I'll answer that right now. So keep in mind this main principle that you have to be technically good at what you do, and then you have to work on your business. So you have to be a great inspector, but also you have to operate a successful home inspection business. You have to do it at the same time, right? A lot of people become great home inspectors, but they fail within the first year or two because they forgot that they're actually an owner of a business that provides inspection services, right? So what do you want to do? Do you want to work for someone else and have them deal with everything business related? Then get really good as a home inspector. But if you want to operate a home inspection business, you're going to first do everything, right? You're going to be the inspector, you're going to be the marketer, you're going to be the business owner, you're going to answer the phone, you're going to schedule the jobs. So you have to be good at everything. To be a really great home inspector, take InterNACHI's courses. You can gain the knowledge and experience that you need to be a fantastic home inspector, technically competent, technically great at performing inspections. To operate a successful home inspection business, go to InterNACHI and learn how to run a successful home inspection business. We actually have a home inspection business course. And if you do everything in the course, you'll have everything that you need to run a successful home inspection business, like an owner, an operator of a business that just happens to do home inspections. You could be doing anything, really. You can be running a business of cleaning carpets, right? But you have to be technically good at cleaning carpets, and you have to run a successful home inspection business. And we have those resources. We have those two things. You can't be good in just one. If you're a really great inspector and you're crappy at marketing, that's hurting the public. Everybody should know that you're a great home inspector. If you're a terrible home inspector, but you're great at marketing, that's no good either, right? You really should be both. You have to do both. You have to be technically good and good at running a business, which includes marketing. We have all those resources available for you. Do you want to inspect for another company? Yeah, that's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. You better get trained and certified and get some experience under your belt. I would even, before you even ride along with somebody or reach out to someone and say, hey, I'm interested in working for you, I would inspect my house 10 times. I would inspect every family member's house 10 times. I'm not kidding, 10 times. You inspect your house 10 times. You can inspect the same apartment, flat, condo, anything you want, townhouse, dwelling, separate house, single dwelling, a multi-dwelling, 10 times. Your first experience, your first inspection will be very different from your 10th. And then you inspect every home in your neighborhood. Everybody in your neighborhood should know that you're a home inspector and inspect their home for free once. They won't allow you to do it 10 times, right? And then you'll have this experience. You'll know where you're weak. If you're weak in HVAC, then you take InterNACHI's courses on HVAC. If you're performing inspections, you're like, oh, I don't know how to do the exterior. I don't get this stucco stuff. We have stucco courses so you can become technically competent. Don't call another home inspector and say, can I ride along and tag along without knowing anything, right? You have a fantastic opportunity to gain the knowledge that you need to do an inspection and then go do them. Do inspections. You're living in a house. Hopefully you're not homeless, right? You're living in a house. Inspect that house 10 times. How many times have you inspected the kitchen? Inspect the kitchen 10 times. Get so good at inspecting the kitchen according to a process that is standardized. See, when you inspect a bedroom, for example, you inspect it in the same way. When I inspect a bedroom, I inspect it in the same way. I go counterclockwise. When I inspect a house on the exterior, I go counterclockwise. We're about to go to the exterior. I'm going right to left if I can swing around it. In this townhouse, I can't really go around the house, but I'd go around this way, counterclockwise in every room. In every room. Why? Because it's a standardized process that all my inspectors did, that I did, and we follow it. And then if you standardize your inspection process, anybody could do it if you're technically competent and experienced. And then defects just pop out at you because you're doing the same routine, opening the same windows, opening the same doors, opening the receptacles, taking a look at the HVAC system in a pattern. And I'll show you a pattern with the HVAC system. You want to inspect in a certain way, every home in the same way, in the same process. Do the roof, then the exterior, then HVAC, then electrical, then the structure, then same way. So your routine is down pat. And then you do those inspections. You do 30 inspections on your own. You're basically an experienced inspector. You can work for someone else, or you can start answering the phone and scheduling jobs and working on your marketing. How do you work on your marketing? How do you reach out to real estate agents? It's in our marketing class. It's in our home inspection business course. And it's also in our marketing videos on nachi.org/webinar. Go to nachi.org/webinar, nachi.org/webinar, and search for marketing and watch all those videos on how to market yourself. Well, I hope I answered your question. Did I answer the question? First steps, good basic first steps. Yeah, that's what I would do. Real estate agents love free home inspections. You can do a free home inspection. You can reach out to someone. I mean, there are even tips on how to communicate with real estate agents. Like, for example, if you're a new person on the block, you can go up to a real estate agent and say, I know you have your favorite home inspector, right? You have your favorite network of home inspectors, but I was wondering if you know anybody in your office or one of your colleagues who might be disappointed that the inspector is always busy. See, I'm new, relatively new, and I have a free, I have some open spaces in my calendar, and I can help serve them. If you know anybody, I know you are busy with your inspectors, but I wonder if you have a friend who is disappointed that their home inspector doesn't use infrared during inspection. See, I am infrared certified. I use my infrared camera. I was wondering if you know anybody in your office that uses an inspector that doesn't have the buyback program. So I cover all of my house inspections with the guarantee from InterNACHI, the buyback guarantee. So there's many ways you can approach real estate agents, and there's many ways you can market your home inspection business. And there's a ton of resources that InterNACHI provides for everything that you need. And starting out new is so much fun. But really, I would have my own school of hard knocks in my neighborhood, and I wouldn't charge for it. I would just do home inspections for my neighbors, and I actually have in my neighborhood. Just moved into a new neighborhood last year. I inspected homes. Right? They weren't around, so separated, social distance, and I started inspecting homes around. Everybody knows, everybody in my neighborhood should know that you're the home inspector. And that when there's a weather event, you've got the moisture meter, you've got the infrared camera. And when there's a roof thing going on, yep, you can help them with that as well. You got the ladder, maybe, you got the drone, got the moisture meter. You can trace for moisture intrusion problems and down in the basement or a crawl space or something like that. You should be known. If you can't talk to your neighbors that you are a new business, then I don't know how you're going to talk to total strangers, like agents who expect professionals, right? Experienced professionals who know how to handle themselves, who have a business card designed by professionals like the Internachi marketing team. Because a real estate agent, they can see a crappy business card from 10 feet away. So where do you begin? I would take the home inspection business course. Develop a plan and a strategy while gaining all the knowledge that you need to become a great home inspector from InterNACHI, free and online education courses from the only home inspector college, and then start to work on your business and marketing. How about websites? We got those courses. I teach. It's so easy to do your own website. And I show you how to do a website within a couple hours at no cost, free. So you go through my home, build a home inspection business website class, a video class, step by step. You pause and you do the work and you play them a little bit more and you pause and do. We have everything you need. We really have everything you need. Just don't forget that you are essentially an owner of a business who just happens to do home inspections. Don't focus only on performing great inspections. You won't survive. I've seen people damage gutters with the ladders to get on the roof. What do you suggest to avoid damaging the gutters? I'm 240 pounds. Watch your weight. I'm serious. Like it's a serious thing when you're big, 6'3", 240 pounds. Things just crush underneath you. And I've been there. I've stepped on roof decks actually and like had to stop, right? Because it was just crushing underneath my feet. Careful. If you're a big fella like me, careful. You can easily crush a crappy gutter. If it crushes, I don't hide it. If I damage something during a home inspection, I'm not hiding it. I'll take a picture of it and I'll explain what's going on. And maybe that gutter wasn't supposed to crush. I mean, they're not really supposed to crush. So when I put a gutter up, I try to get at the nail or the stake or the fastener. Sometimes you can't tell because it's tucked inside. But if it's on the outside, you look for that round, like dime size nail head, that fastener, that stake. I try to put it right there, right? Or near the gutter edge. That's a little dangerous. Or go for the rake on the other side, the gable side, right? And mount up there. It's really difficult what we do. What we do is really difficult. You could be going through a whole house, have a fantastic home inspection, 3 hours, and then as you're leaving, you break something. If you do, tell your client, make them whole. It's not as bad as you think. So I've broken many things. I've destroyed many things in a house. I once hit my head on a porcelain baby shoes, right? And they just smashed and crashed. So, and I've tripped a breaker in the garage and lost all the wine in the fridge. You make people whole, and then you tell everybody what mistake you made and how you made everybody whole, and especially their agents. So I destroyed wine. I replaced all the wine, brought flowers, made everybody whole, and told everybody what I did so that they have no hesitation in hiring you again. You want to remove that hesitation for someone to refer work to you. You want to lower all those hesitations, all those concerns. And if you do something dumb, you make a mistake, own it, and make everybody whole. And then you have that story to tell. And it has never gone wrong for me. So if I've crushed gutters, I've destroyed garage doors. I've done everything. I've overflowed a sink because I forgot to monitor the sink. I've left an oven on. So you just make people whole, and it actually turns out to be a really good marketing strategy. Do you include SOP with the inspection agreement or just final report? I include live links to the SOP because it's a live document. It's a live online document. A lot of home inspectors out there, they're still copy pasting the SOP from 1990. Stop that. So you have to have a link to the live SOP. And in the agreement, you have to have your client say that I have read the home inspection standards of practice. I have read the inspection report. I have read the summary. I have read the InterNACHI home maintenance book. You can force them to agree that they have read everything, right? I read and understand. Okay. Do we have to purchase? I still struggle with calling too much, getting better, and ask myself, does impact the home? Can you give some thoughtful info? Hopefully I gave you some advice about what a defect is, and those 4 different types of defects. That will help you out. Remember, you're not required to use those terms, but it kind of gives you the idea that for me, that I use those terms, that a material defect was defined by the standards of practice, that's going to kill somebody or have an adverse impact on the value of the house. There's major defects that are going to hurt someone, but they can be fixed by a contractor, right? A GFCI only costs $20, but it's going to hurt somebody. And a contractor has to install it. Homeowner can't do it. So that's a major defect. Minor defect is the air filter is dirty. Homeowner can fix it, right? A minor defect. Cosmetic defect is there's a stain on the carpet. No one should care. Just joined last week. Oh, how do I get the discount? You can email Lisa at internachi.org. Just joined last month. Kind of go, okay. This is for non-members. Let's see. Done. New inspector in Florida. I started inspections in 2020, and I have been offering a 4-point with the home inspection. Is this a good idea? Heck yeah. So a 4-point inspection is a simplified version of a home inspection. You only inspect 4 things. It's very popular in some areas. It's related to insurance. And things in your area like radon might be big in your area. Florida, Southern Florida, not really. But in Colorado, 1 out of 2 homes have elevated levels of radon. So you have to figure out what ancillary services are a good idea for your business plan. You have to, and during your home inspection business course, you're going to be asked, what about ancillary services, right? Because that's where the revenue is. That's your opportunity to increase gross revenue. If you can increase your gross revenue, then you have a lot of opportunity there. Let's say it that way. So what you want to do is increase gross revenue as much as possible. Add on, right? I was disappointed when I only did a home inspection. We should have been able to offer a home inspection, a radon, and a termite, and have a $650 invoice, right? And then you bring home $1,000 or $1,200 or $1,300 every day. So when you have a large gross revenue, you have a lot of cash flow, you can do a lot of great things, right? So increase gross revenue by ancillary inspections like the 4-point or radon or mold. How do you do ancillary inspections? You have to get trained and certified. And InterNACHI provides all those training and certification programs for you to do ancillary inspections. Okay, these are great questions. Let's get back to the exterior because we just did one system, right? So learn how to inspect the exterior by visiting nachi.org/education and entering exterior in the search field. According to the Home Inspection Standards of Practice, you're required to inspect the exterior wall covering materials. Remember, we don't inspect the exterior systems or the roof system because you can't see everything in the system. Where do we get these terms? Code. Building code, ICC, International Residential Code, calls it wall covering. We call it wall covering materials. Well, they also talk about different types of materials and material standards and methods of applying those coverings. So exterior wall coverings is right there in the code. Interior, it's called interior covering as well. And we have interior coverings or wall finishes, or you can combine those terms, interior wall coverings. So careful with your terminology and how you communicate what you do during an inspection. And so we are at inspecting the exterior wall covering materials. So there's vinyl. I see vinyl in the picture. There's vinyl and some aluminum, maybe vinyl windows, some other vinyl and plastic. There's wood, that's a 2x8 maybe, painted. There's some vinyl trim and weather stripping. There's vinyl siding, little J channel. There's an aluminum door, garage door. There's some masonry in the front, some stones at the stairway and the walk. Vinyl siding, some wood there, or some other kind of material there that could be painted up. There's vinyl that meets a different type of building material, that's vinyl touching concrete at the rear patio there. Wherever a piece of siding meets something else, I like to get my nose in there and see where there should be some sealant or some flashing. We don't want water intrusion. Any kind of opening in there could be for vermin as well. And there's a light fixture, and that's capped with vinyl, and where the overhang or the eaves is, it's the same thing. So I'm looking at anything where anything else meets anything, especially at corners, because some problems usually occur around there. So I'm looking at all these things. Eaves, soffit and fascia, we just saw that. You're required to inspect the eaves and soffit and fascia. There's that radon exhaust pipe by my ladder. That's the soffit vents. Representative number of windows. You're not required to inspect all the windows, especially those windows that you can't even get to, like the second floor windows here. And I open and close a representative number. Representative number is defined by the inspector. For me, it was one window per room. So in a bedroom, I would go to one window at least. I look at all of the windows, but I would operate one and take a picture of that. It's all exterior doors. So there's an exterior door there. There's a doorbell. There's a storm door, a glass storm door. And there's the exterior door, the main door, the front door, the egress door, whatever you want to call it there. And there's the front step. And I'm always interested in this step. This looks a little high to me. There actually is a standard by which you can measure this step. It can't be too high. There's a maximum. There's a minimum as well. So a threshold at a required egress door, and that's what this is. Here we have an egress door, and below the main door, the door itself, there's a threshold. Kind of looks like that on the side. It shouldn't be higher than 1.5 inches above the interior floor. So if this was the interior floor surface at the front door, 1.5 inches to the top of the threshold. And maybe this is a compressed piece of threshold here, the stripping, the weather stripping, or maybe it's hard. Usually it's like an adjustable piece there, and there's weather stripping at the bottom, maybe some metal or something like that. This configuration changes, but the threshold shouldn't be more than 1.5 inches. If it's higher, then people trip over it when they walk in or out of the front door. It's interesting because this first step, going outside, right, outside the door, there's a maximum. It can't be too high. It can't be like 10 inches high, that first step right out of the door. And there's a limit to it. And that limit starts with the top of the threshold. It's measured actually from the top of the threshold. So the exterior landing at an exterior egress door, at the front door, can be at most 7 3/4 inches tall, but measured from the top of the threshold, not the step itself, 7 3/4 tall, but top of the threshold, which is that 1.5 inches maximum. So this first step is going to be shorter than you might expect. It could be about 6 inches, 6 1/4 inches tall. Why do I go over that? Well, if someone's it's not a code inspection, but I do better inspections when I know what I'm looking at. If what I'm looking at, which is building components and systems, all of them, all those building components and systems are built upon a standard. And if there's a violation of that standard and I can pick it out during a home inspection, I'm going to make it a defect in my report. I'm not going to quote code. I'm not going to use this illustration. This is just for me. to know what to do and look for during an inspection. So what I'm saying is, if you know a little bit about building homes, that will help you become a better home inspector. If you know how to fix stuff around the house, if you know what a threshold is, that's helpful, right? If you know what the step standard is, what is too high of a step, what is too small of a step or landing, that helps you become a better inspector. I'm not saying you should know code and be a code inspector, although we have that program. I'm just saying it might be advantageous to you to know more than you need to know that's listed in the Home Inspection Standards of Practice. Again, the Standards of Practice requires the inspector to inspect the flashing and trim. We went over those areas. I love looking at where two different materials meet, looking for that flashing or sealant or opportunities for water or mice to get in. I don't like openings. So I'm looking, where would those openings be? It's rare that you have a hole in the vinyl siding, right? It's usually like somewhere where the vinyl siding meets something else. So I'm always looking at that. You're required to inspect the adjacent walkways and driveways. Well, we've got a driveway here. No real walkways. There's a public walkway. I'll take a look at that for my client, actually. There's a driveway picture there. There's a driveway picture there. The asphalt looks really good. There's a crack. I bet there's some kind of tree root or something underneath. No big deal. It could be sealed up. And there's the front. That's a clean out pipe for the sewer line. And there's the sidewalk there. No problems with the public sidewalk. Again, not required to inspect public sidewalks during the inspection, according to the standards of practice, but I do. Stairs, steps, stoops, stairways, and ramps. I think that's pretty inclusive. So here's my front stairway. Remember the downspout here and the gas meter next to it. Porches, patios, decks, balconies, and carports. Don't have much. We've got this concrete slab in the back for a porch, and it's slanted away. Might be slanted a little bit too much. That's okay. I'm not going to call that out. But there's a slope to it in the correct direction away from the house. That's good. Railings, guards, and handrails. Well, we've got this front handrail here. And if you notice, like, that's kind of cool, right? So they have the original handrail, iron handrail, and it went past this cap, this concrete cap, but it crushed your fingers right here where the two meet. So they added a secondary handrail that's attached on the inside. That's nice. I just pointed that out. If you wanted to know more about handrails, grippable handrails, when's a handrail supposed to be installed, how high is a handrail, how low is too low, how high is too high. We refer to the International Residential Code. That's Chapter 3, Section R311.7.8. Let me just show you. Code is kind of fun. It says handrails shall be provided on not less than one side. So you have to have it on one side. Code says things in a weird way. Not less than one side, at least one side of each flight of stairs with 4 or more risers. And the handrail height measured vertically from the sloped plane, okay, adjoining the nose of the treads. So the tread, the step has a nose, right? Where, if you can imagine my foot coming down, like where my toes would overhang, that's the nose of the step. From nose to nose to nose to nose, there's a line that can be drawn from that line, from that sloped plane, or from the finished slope of a ramp. It can't be less than 34 inches and not more than 38 inches. So 34 to 38 inches, it'll feel wrong if you try to grab a handrail, but it has to be there if there's 4 or more risers. But me, I have friends who need a handrail for like 1 or 2 steps, 1 or 2 risers. I'm not a code inspector. I know code. Code says you can have 3 steps. You don't need a handrail. How is an 80-year-old woman going to be going up a flight of steps with there's 3 steps without a handrail? Come on. So I'm a home inspector. If my client is old or has a physical opportunity and needs a handrail, even if it's 1 step, I'm a home inspector. I'm not a code inspector. I can recommend that in my report. That's the beauty of being a home inspector. I serve my client. I don't serve the agent. I don't serve the seller, the occupant. My client who wants to come into this home and be safe. If they need a handrail, they need a handrail. That's the neat thing. It's not a code inspection. Home inspectors are not code inspectors. But in my head, I know standards and best practices and code, and I'll be able to adjust my report and my inspection process in relation to that. Hope that makes sense. On the handrail here during the inspection, there's rust. That could be scraped off. It's not structural yet. If left go, it could be. And that could be scraped and painted again. Vegetation, surface drainage, retaining walls, and grading of the property. It's very important. Remember, in the beginning of this inspection, I was taking a look at the snow-covered roof from the hillside behind the townhouse. I'm concerned how all that water during a heavy rainstorm slams into the house foundation. It's kind of flat here and I have a window well. So in the basement, which is a full story below the surface of the ground, I'm going to look for water penetration. This needs to be cleaned out. There's a window well just filled with debris. Not good. Needs a cover or cleaned out. I know why there isn't a cover, because this is a crappy way to install a sump pump discharge pipe right across the window well. And there's that discharge pipe going into the underground downspout that we saw earlier. And there's the pipe there at its penetration through the siding. It needs to be sealed up. And that's the sump pump. Sump pump is in the basement. There's the pump there. I'll usually report when there's water, standing water, also if it's dry, but especially if there's standing water. The sump is sealed. I was able to take the cap off here. It's sealed because there's radon system installed, and we'll go over that as well. This is a great opportunity for you to turn around to your client and say 3 magic words that makes you more money while I'm here. While I'm here doing a home inspection, would you like me to schedule a radon test to make sure this radon system, which was installed and tested when it was installed, is still performing as expected? Boom, $150. So there's the radon system there. There's the grading. So I'm glad that this sump pump doesn't have any water in it, because there's the grading there, and there's a swale that's going behind the townhouses to get water, ground surface water, away from the properties, away from the foundation. That's good. And the grading in the front is okay, just flat. So again, home inspectors are not code inspectors. Everything home inspectors look at are related to code, building standards, best practices, building science, safety features. So knowing more about those topics will help a home inspector do better inspections. For example, when you're at the front door, you're checking the landing at the front door. It should have at least 36 inches in the direction of travel. And the exterior landing shouldn't be more than 7 3/4 inches below the top of the threshold. Remember, we checked that. And the stair riser height shouldn't be more than 7 3/4 inches. And the biggest riser height shouldn't exceed the smallest by more than 3/8 of an inch. And the tread depth, the step of the tread where you put your foot, should be at least 10 inches. It could be bigger, but should be no smaller than 10 inches. And the slope of the walking surfaces of the steps, the landing, the walkways, even the steps that we saw, the landing, we saw the steps, concrete steps with the railing, the double railing. It must provide drainage. The step itself should be sloped. And the use of such a slope is called a wash. It's on the stairs, and it's a common technique used to allow the nosing, remember the front edge of the step, to be lower than the rest of the tread surface. So it kind of, if it rains on the exterior steps, it should be sloped just gently, the wash, so that it can drain away. And a handrail should be on at least one side of a flight of steps of 4 or more risers, 4 more steps. And where handrails are required, they should be at least 34 inches, but no greater than 38 inches measured in that diagonal way. And a guard is required if an elevation is greater than 30 inches in height at any point within 36 inches of the edge of that walking surface. And remember, guards and handrails aren't the same things. A guard is a guard, and a handrail is that which you grasp. Now, the top of the guard could be serving as a handrail, but a guard is different from a handrail. And you can't allow a 4-inch sphere to pass through a guard. So why do I mention all that stuff, all that code stuff, just on stairs and steps and handrails and all that stuff? Because it's a large part of what you do. You inspect steps, handrails, safety features, things like that. And it's based upon InterNACHI's training. And InterNACHI's training is based upon code. InterNACHI is a preferred education provider approved by the International Code Council. The ICC is the group that writes all of the building codes, all of them. And InterNACHI's curriculum is based upon the International Residential Code. And our curriculum is based upon the most recent code. Our curriculum is reviewed every other year and is revised and updated according to the code changes, which happens every 3 years. So when you take an InterNACHI course, you know the most recent standards by which you can serve your clients, with which you can serve your clients. So if you want to learn code in order to be a better home inspector, we have a free online property maintenance and housing code inspector course. Just go to nachi.org and search for code in the upper right-hand corner. According to the Home Inspection Standards of Practice, the inspector shall describe the type of exterior wall covering materials. That's very easy. That was vinyl. And you have to report as in need of correction any improper spacing between intermediate balusters, spindles, or rails at the guard. Yep, no problems there. Now, there are other things before we leave the exterior system. There are other things, other systems, other components, other observations that you can make in relation to defects. Like there's wood rot on the front porch post that I noticed. It's very easy. I don't have to poke my screwdriver through, but I kind of pressed here and I made some more damage in order to make the picture obvious. And then there's GFCIs on the outside. You can incorporate this into your report under electrical or maybe exterior. It's up to you. And all exterior receptacles should be GFCI protected. The doorbell, I once got a call back because the doorbell doesn't work, right? And that's okay. I tried to explain that that's not part of the inspection. And then I realized, why don't we just incorporate doorbells into our inspection process? So now we ring doorbells. We also run faucets on the outside. They're called hose bibs, hose spigots, whatever you want to call them. But they should be frost-free, especially in cold climates. So that's a hose bib. And ones that are subject to freezing temperatures, including frost-proof hose bibs, should have their stem extended through the building insulation into an open, heated, or semi-conditioned space. And there should also be an accessible shutoff valve installed on the water supply pipe that leads to that hose bib. And it looks like that. That's an illustration that you can download from InterNACHI's free online gallery of illustrations so that you can make your inspection reports easier to read and understand and spice up your visuals in your report. And fences are not part of a home inspection, but I checked that. Radon mitigation systems are not part of a home inspection, but you can do those 3 words, right? While I'm here, would you like me to inspect this radon system that was installed years ago? It worked and was tested then. I'm sure it's fine now, but you never know. You can the only way you know that your radon system is working properly is there aren't any gauges like that liquid gauge. It only says that there's some kind of pressure in the pipe or a reduction in the pipe. You have to test a radon system in order to know that it's working properly. There's the exhaust there. And this is a sump pump or a pit depressurization system. It's an active one. Active means that there's a fan. We saw that fan on the outside there. And it's a radon mitigation system that has a suction point installed on the sump pit. And there's the shutoff valve for the radon system fan. Oh, there's that shutoff valve for the frost proof, but this actually wasn't frost proof. I can see on the stem here that there isn't any frost proof feature. So it isn't a frost proof hose bib. That's not a frost proof hose bib. I'm going to mark that as a defect. And there's the gauge there to show that there's some kind of pressurization going on inside the system. And if you wanted to learn everything about radon and radon mitigation systems, there's actually a radon mitigation system checklist that a home inspector could use in order to check to see if the radon mitigation system is compliant with modern standards, right? So take our advanced radon measurement service provider course and become certified in radon. You can become certified in many other things in order to increase that gross revenue by offering ancillary services. Get certified. So InterNACHI has a home inspector certificate program to become a certified home inspector, but we have more than 60 additional types of inspector certifications provided by the only home inspector college, all online and free for InterNACHI members. Next system, basement foundation crawl space structure. So again, I arrive early, inspect the roof, come down off my ladder, shake hands with my client, big smile. We have a customer service course on how to, first impressions. 10 business cards at least, so that they can pass them out to their friends and things. And I say, well, thank you for hiring me. It's the first time we've met. Yada, yada, here's how it works. I'm going to inspect systems. I'd like you to follow me along. You don't have to. You can go inside and do whatever you want, but you're not going to miss anything. I'll show you where everything is, how everything works, how to maintain it, maybe even how to save energy. And if there's a problem, I'll come to you and I'll show it to you and we'll put it in the report. I'll also give you a summary of my observations at the end of this inspection because I use a mobile device with report software here. Click a button and we'll have the report done right after the inspection. So the agent, usually an agent, wants that summary, wants to start checking things off in order to get to closing, right? Because their goal is different from my goal. A real estate agent's goal is to get to closing, get that right home buyer for that right house to closing. And my goal is different. My goal is to educate my homeowner about the home, how it works, how to maintain it, and how to save energy. Really, I add that as part of our brand, and produce a report and a checklist of things to go do before you move in or negotiate over. Next system is, so I'll come down the ladder, explain how things are going, invite them around the house with me. Many of my clients just want to go in and start measuring carpeting and looking at paint surfaces and things like that. And then I'll do the exterior and then I'll go into the basement. I go into the basement because that's the heart of the house, the HVAC system, the foundation, the electrical, the hot water, the water supply in, the drain coming out. That's the tough stuff. I want to hit that first because I get there early, think about my schedule, get there early, do the roof, exterior. I'm about halfway, half an hour in. It's maybe after my scheduled time. So if it starts at 8 o'clock, I'm probably ready to go into the house quarter after 8. I get to the basement, do all the main systems. That's going to take me over an hour. And then the next thing after this system here is the attic. And if I can get there at hour 2, I know I'm going to wrap up just in time. So it's all about minute by minute time management as a home inspector. If you're not managing your time, you're not making any money. Let me say that again. If you're not managing your time, you're not making any money. Let's just make the math easy. let's say you're making $300 during an inspection. It's going to take you 3 hours to do the inspection itself. Forget about drive time. How much money do you make per hour? $100. If you make $300 in 6 hours, right? You just decreased by 50% your gross revenue. That's no good. So you don't want to spend all day there. You want to be able to make money in a reasonable amount of time. Reasonable according to the expectations of your client, right? They don't expect you to be there for 5 minutes, and they don't expect you to be there for 5, 10 hours either. So you have to manage your time. In business, general rule of thumb is gross revenue divided by time. Gross revenue divided by time. If you make $300 in 3 hours, you kind of understand your hourly rate, right? That's a pretty good rate. $100 an hour, not bad. If you can increase the numerator, the top part of your fraction, if you can even double it, that's fantastic. Let's say you went from $300 to $600 divided by the same amount of time or relatively the same amount of time. That's fantastic. What you want to do is have a top heavy fraction. You want to have a lot of gross revenue divided by the same amount of time. How do you do that? Bundling inspection services helps you increase profit. It certainly increases gross revenue. The more services you offer, the more you can charge. Like instead of a $300 home inspection, you add Radon for $150, that's $450 divided by how much time? Well, your ancillary services shouldn't increase your time too much. Maybe a radon test is 10 minutes, 15 minutes to set up. Sewer scope, maybe another half an hour or something. 4-point inspection at the same time as a home inspection. It shouldn't increase. You don't want to increase your time. You want to increase your gross revenue. And InterNACHI provides all of those resources so that you can increase your gross revenue and manage your time efficiently. That's the key to success in this business. Next system, basement, foundation, crawl space, structure. Yeah. Ryan asks, I've been inspecting for a year, love the job. However, I'm struggling with being quicker. I use Home Inspector Pro, good software. I have customized it well to the standards of practice. I know HIP is not the only program out there. I truly believe InterNACHI should have had a standardized template for us to start with. We do. This way, we can customize the top of the template. Also, it would be extremely beneficial for you to have a webinar on how to go through an inspection using this template. We do. As I've stated, I'm struggling with time management, and I feel like I'm over inspecting some things and spending too much time or not using the app properly. So Ryan, great question. I'm very familiar with Home Inspector Pro. I have it on my phone. I've used it during inspections, and we've filmed those inspections, me using Home Inspector Pro and how to use it quickly. Fantastic software. There are other software, just like you said, out there as well. I also have used Home Gauge. Home Gauge is fantastic software, and Spectora. I have Spectora on my phone right now. I'm learning Spectora. All those software providers, if not all of them, and you're using one that doesn't offer a template based upon InterNACHI standards of practice, you should insist on it. The Spectora has a template, Home Inspector Pro, Home Gauge. They all have templates based upon the InterNACHI standards of practice. In fact, I think Spectora has my personal template that I developed available. You can ask Home Inspector Pro as well. And we have training videos that I have done. I've done home inspections with that software, all those softwares, and I show you how to use the software itself and do a fast, efficient inspection using the software. And we talk about time management and efficiency in many of our classes. They're all on nachi.org/webinars. So you go to nachi.org/webinars, search for software, and then home inspection, and then you'll see me using mobile devices with software, performing inspections, talking about time management. For example, in this class, we talked about performing a roof inspection, right? The roof inspection in this class, in this house, at this townhouse, was about 10 minutes. It's because I couldn't get up on the roof, right? The exterior inspection was another 10 to 15 minutes, a little bit longer, maybe 20. There are a lot of components there. We had a couple defects. Remember the downspout and the gas meter, a couple problems with the sump pump in the back, and there's a radon mitigation system. So a couple other things to look at. And by the time I go into the house to do the basement foundation crossway structure, I'm about 15, 20 minutes into my scheduled time with my client. I showed up early, but so it's all about time management. Now, when I'm on the roof, I have my system in my hand as a checklist. I use my software as a step-by-step guide to what I should be doing. So I don't like follow my client. My client isn't leading this inspection. It's me, and I'm following my inspection process, my standardized process, which is based upon the home inspection standards of practice. That's your checklist. Your checklist starts, your template for your report software starts with the home inspection standards of practice, and every software provider has it. Just ask them for the InterNACHI standards of practice template, and then you build off of that. Now we have checklists that are more detailed than the home inspection standards of practice for each system. So if you wanted to inspect the hot water tank, we actually have a checklist, a step-by-step checklist for inspecting the hot water tank. And you enter that checklist procedure and customize it. You don't have to enter every step, customize it to how you do inspections, and you put it into your software. So when you're holding your software in your hand on your mobile device and you're standing in front of the hot water tank, you know what to inspect and what not to inspect. You go click, 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 take a picture, click, 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 done. Inspecting a hot water tank, let's say it's a gas-fired hot water tank, should take maybe 5 minutes. 5 minutes. It's not an hour. It's very easy. And you don't get confused because you're using your checklist that's in your hand. It helps you manage your time, helps you be efficient, not fast. I think I said fast before. You want to be efficient with your time. You don't want to just run through the house. You want to be efficient with your time, inspect everything according to your schedule. And it helps you reduce errors because what you're supposed to inspect is right here. It's a reminder to inspect that. Oh, did I inspect it for skylights? Oh, there aren't any skylights on this house. Click. So yeah, I would practice then your report. Remember earlier we talked about inspecting your home 10 times. Just don't inspect it with a flashlight. Carry your software with you. Now, InterNACHI has a bunch of free checklists that you can incorporate into your software. We also have a free checklist that you can use to actually perform a home inspection, but I wouldn't give that report. It doesn't look fancy like all the other software providers. So we have our own software, but I wouldn't use InterNACHI software for a client. I would use InterNACHI's software to practice. We require 4 mock pretend inspection reports when you become certified. We require you to perform a home inspection 4 times and write 4 reports and submit them using our software, but I wouldn't use our InterNACHI software. But it's actually a good software to check if you're looking for templates. So we have all those resources. We have our own software that you can use as a resource, as a reference for standards. We have checklists, specific systems that you can incorporate into your software. And we expect software providers to provide a template for you to start off with that you can customize and build from. Great question. Let's see. Yeah, I know I have some videos of you can watch me perform an inspection using Home Inspector Pro and Spectora. I think there's a mold inspection. I was using Home Gauge for mold. According to the Home Inspection Standards of Practice, The inspector shall inspect the foundation, basement, crawl space, and structural. There I am coming into the house. I take my shoes off. Exterior shoes stay outside. And in my bag here, I bring my indoor shoes only, and I wear my indoor shoes inside the house. I come downstairs. I bring my tools with me, and that's my tool bag. I got the level, got the, I actually have two of them here. So I still have them, still use them. This is a hydrometer, right? You can get this from Inspector Coach and Inspector Outlet. It's a moisture meter. And I'll show you. I probe around things like insulation and ceilings and carpets, and it gives you a visual and audible signal. If it senses, let's see if I can do the camera, if it senses moisture. It's a lot of fun because I can poke things, I can reach, I can poke through carpeting and hit the padding underneath. And then this is a gardening tool. You can get this from Inspector Coach as well. It's a 3-tine hoe. One I heated up and flattened with a hammer so I can poke things, poke into wood and stuff, and it's extendable. Oh, let's see. There we go. And I bring that with me on every inspection. I like the hooks so that I can hook insulation, pull it away, and push it back with no one even knowing. And then there's a lot of other things, like there's my picnic blanket, so that when I go up into the attic, I grab the picnic blanket, I lay it down so that I protect other people's stuff while I open up the attic access. And these pockets are great for other tools and moisture meters and infrared and all that other good stuff. Love pictures because a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I've been sued before as a home inspector, small claims, and having pictures of inspection restrictions and explaining to the judge that I can't see everything, obviously, and that these shelves weren't here when my client moved in, obviously. So they were able to see the foundation wall cracks and I wasn't, right? Look at that. So inspection restrictions are really great when you take a picture of them. Very easy to explain and understand. And then the foundation, the floor structure, I take pictures of that. And then we saw that already with the radon switch. And then those are floor joists. I'm looking for notches or holes or cracks or cuts. That's a foundation wall. Looking at where the foundation wall meets something else, maybe behind the storage. There could be a defect. There could be water pouring in through the foundation. But if I can't see it because of this, I'm not responsible for it. We talked about that earlier in today's class. There's a lot of inspection restrictions. There's my feet. There's a hairline crack, shrinkage crack. No big deal. There's the load-bearing pole post. The bottom of it is secured. Top of it is secured. There's the central I-beam resting upon the foundation. That looks good. There's the clean out. I think it may have leaked in the past and stained the vinyl around this clean out. That's okay. There's my 3-tine hoe gardening tool, moving insulation to look at the band rim joists, especially if there's a sliding door. I want to go underneath that, or a deck attachment. I want to get to that area. Looks good, insulated. I see some joist hangers. There's the sealed sump pump pit. We talked about the depressurized system of the radon system, and me saying the 3 words while I'm here in order to make more revenue for my company. I'm required to describe the type of foundation and location of the access to the underfloor space, poured concrete, reinforced. And if you are interested in learning more about inspecting the structure and looking at structural issues, we have a textbook at that URL, or you can go to nachi.org at the top right corner and search for concrete. That's another good way to learn more about inspecting for structural issues. We also have a free online structural issues for inspectors course. According to the Home Inspection Standards of Practice, the inspector shall report in his need of correction. Observe indications of wood in contact near the soil. I don't have any of that. Observe indications of active water penetration. Nope. Observe indications of possible foundation movement. Nope. And any observed cutting, notching, boring of framing members that, in your opinion, may present a structural safety concern. And to help learn what to look for and explain what you find to your client in a report, use an InterNACHI illustration. These are really great. At InterNACHI's Home Inspection Image Gallery, you can look for anything you want to spice up your communication skills and your report. So this is a high def illustration that you can download. And if you wanted to download all kinds of things, like maybe you saw some structural cracks, that's a cool one there. Just to help you describe your observations to your clients. That's what InterNACHI provides, those really nice illustrations. Let's get rid of some of these tabs. Heating system is the next one. HUD is asking about drones. We have a course on to help you prepare for the FAA pilot exam. Would it be a good idea to include that form of inspection of the roof in the agreement instead of using a ladder? Heck yeah. We actually have clauses, and we're like a legal Zoom for home inspectors. So if you go to nachi.org/documents, you can get there from your online account as well. You click the documents, legal documents button. You get to see all of our clauses that we have available. You can customize them all. You can add things if you use a drone, then expect this kind of clause in your inspection agreement, or it could be a separate agreement that you're using a drone. Whatever you do, you want to use InterNACHI's resources, but have your local business attorney review them. Your local business attorney is going to be expensive, but well worth it, because that person should review everything that you're doing, everything that you're marketing and saying, your inspection report, and any agreements that you have, even the process, even if your business plan, have that review, and then have that local business attorney get ready to defend you with some emails or letters, or maybe a phone call. And your local business attorney already is familiar with you. So when something happens, they already have a template of a response. If someone's complaining, they already know what to do and know what to say. And it's well worth it. It relieves you of the burden of worrying about what if I miss something? What if I crush the gutter? What if with my ladder? What do I do if someone calls me and says they have a complaint? What if I do and someone calls me and says there's a hole in the roof, and I looked at a report and it said it was all snow covered, and you couldn't say, what do I do now? You and your local business attorney already have covered those certain situations. InterNACHI, if you are a member of InterNACHI and certified through InterNACHI, we have an insurance program that protects you, E&O insurance and general liability. And part of that program has an issue resolution team that can help you with that. You want something in between to help resolve issues before they get out of hand. So go to nachi.org/insurance and check out the services that the insurance program has for you. That's included when you are enrolled in our insurance program. Does InterNACHI do websites? No. It's easy for you to do a website. I teach the class if I know how to build a class, and you want to use InterNACHI's resources and training, and you want to do the step-by-step procedure that I teach on how to build a free online home inspection business website. Seriously, a few hours of your time with me online, and you can have a beautiful inspection website that converts visitors to your website to clients. There's like 10 things a home inspection business website has to have in order to be successful for your business. And we teach those things in the class. So go to nachi.org/webinars and type in website, and you'll have a few of those classes there. Any accessory tools you recommend for added ladder safety, for access tall roofs, stabilizing? Yeah, anything you can get your hands on. We did a couple webinars with some ladder safety devices. They work. Anything that helps secure that ladder, I'm all for it. In the very beginning, we just use ropes. You go up there and you tie off your ladder to the gutter. That wasn't all that great. What inspection software do you recommend? I'm using Pro, PalmTech, right? They're all good. I'm familiar with a few of them more than others. I would go to nachi.org/everything nachi.org/everything and scroll down the page to the software resources that we have available to get discounts from software providers. Insist from software providers for discounts and templates because you're an InterNACHI member. Do you have to inspect the entire roof of the townhome or just the section of that particular part? Right. It's probably covered by the HOA, Homeowners Association, but I don't care. I inspect properties without any regard to HOAs. If the HOA is covering the roof, great. My client ought to know the actual condition of the roof because most HOAs, in my experience, have no idea what's going on. Any tips for women starting in this profession inspection? Yes, we have a mentoring program, nachi.org/mentoring, and you can search for women in the industry. And we have done coaching sessions, and we've done mentoring sessions, and we've done training sessions on our webinars. But I would say you probably the easiest way is to search for folks that you want to talk to, and they could be all over the world. They don't have to necessarily be in your area. And that's at nachi.org/mentoring. We have a mentoring program. Okay. And I would say, I don't want to say it in the wrong way, but I would say you would have an advantage over me if you use it correctly. If you and I were inspecting and you were a female home inspector, woman in the business, most real estate agents, the fact is most real estate agents are female. And me being 6'3", 6'4", large man, I had the challenge of communicating well, right, with real estate agents. So what we did was we softened our company to make it a little bit more approachable. Our company was called Peach Inspections. It was a soft, fuzzy, juicy kind of imagery. Our folders were pink and peach colored. The way we approached real estate agents was in a different way. We brought little baskets of candy. We fed everybody warm peach pastries at real estate office meetings. But I would say if you and I were competing, you should take advantage of my disadvantage, right? You should take advantage of who you are, because your brand, what distinguishes you from all of the rest, can be a huge advantage in your market. So I wouldn't hide it. I would exploit who you are and what you look like and how you talk and how you conduct yourself and how you're different from the majority of home inspectors, especially in the United States. So I would say that you should have some fun in beating the heck out of your competition because you have a distinguishing characteristic that I can never match. So when I teach home inspectors to compete in the market, what I tell them to do is spy on your competition and make a list of all the things that they do and see if you do them and more. Because if you're both doing the same thing and you both look like the same, you both look the same, you sound the same, and you're both doing the same thing, then the only distinguishing characteristic is price. And lowest price wins. And that's no good for anybody. Competing on price, everybody loses. What you need to compete on is value. And sometimes value is defined by being very different than all the rest. Not always, but usually. What you want is, I had a class about growing pumpkins, award-winning pumpkins. What you want to be is the biggest, most different, most grand pumpkin in the field, right? No one looks at the small pumpkin and looks like all the others. Everyone surrounds that, goes towards, is magnetically drawn to the most distinguishing looking different pumpkin in the field. So you may have a huge advantage that you can take advantage of. Hope that makes sense. And find your mentors. InterNACHI has a mentoring program. Are we doing the heating system using normal operating controls? Normal operating controls are thermostat, shut-off valve, shut-off switches. That's an emergency shut-off switch. That's a service switch. That's a gas shut-off valve. And if you need an inspection checklist for a gas-fired furnace, remember, I think it was Ryan who was asking about templates. Well, we have a checklist. If you're standing in front of a gas-fired furnace, use our checklist and put it in your report, incorporate it into your report. And it's at that URL. We also have videos on inspecting HVAC systems, especially a heating system, a gas-fired heating system. And there's a video here where I open up a gas-fired heating system and show you how impossible it is for a home inspector to find a crack in the heat exchanger. Don't worry about that. You can't possibly visually see a crack in a heat exchanger. So don't even mention anything about heat exchangers because you can't see them during a home inspection. And don't even say anything about cracks in heat exchangers because you can't find them anyways. It's impossible to find, and I do a little video there. So go to our YouTube channel and search for, or just go to Google, go to YouTube and search for InterNACHI Find Crack Heat Exchanger. That's a good video. We also have videos on the categories. There are 4 categories of heating systems, furnaces, and you have to know what you're looking at. So from 20 feet away, you should be able to tell your client if it's the efficiency, is it low, medium, or high efficiency? What type of heating system it is. Is it a boiler that moves hot water around? Is it a ductwork heating system? Is it a furnace, forced air furnace? Does it have condensate building up and it needs to drain onto the condensate? So you should be able to see that from the distinguishing characteristics. And we have a really nice course on HVAC units. And inside the course, there's a video on inspecting and distinguishing and describing the type of heating system that you're inspecting. So we've got the checklist, video on the crack heat exchanger, and a video on the types of heating systems that you may come across. You have to describe the location of the thermostat, which is right there. The energy source. Well, remember the gas meter in the driveway hazard? The natural gas. There's a gas shutoff valve, pressure regulator, gas lines. I wouldn't worry too much about the surface rust. Gas shutoff valve next to the heating system itself, the appliance. And the heating method, well, that's forced air, and there's ductwork. Report as a need of correction any heating system that didn't operate and any heating system that was deemed inaccessible. And I didn't have any problems with there. Everything kind of worked out. There's the heating system there, carrier model. There's a draft inducer fan, sealed heating chamber, combustion chamber. There's a pilot light mechanism. There's some pressure regulators and safety devices. There's a drip coming out of the draft inducer fan where the fan is a fern coat attached to the exhaust pipe, and there's condensate in there and it's dripping. To get to the air filter, you have to take out the nut there, and there's the air filter there, and it's all being bent. So that's a defect, a minor defect. There's a problem with the exhaust pipe. Remember, it produces condensate. This is a high efficiency unit, furnace, and there's condensate watermarks on the outside of the exhaust pipe. It's PVC exhaust pipe, low temperature, produces condensate, and it's cracked. Not only is it cracked, it's not glued well, and it's now a hazard. In fact, it's a material defect, because if this starts to exhaust CO in the house, people are going to die. So in this home inspection, I actually have a material defect. It's that little crack right there. Not big, but there's a little crack. How did I find that crack? Because of the watermarks. How did I find the watermarks? Because I looked at the components and I knew what type of heating system it was. It's category 4, high efficiency, condensing furnace. Condensing, water condenses in this type of furnace in the exhaust pipe by the fan, and I saw the watermarks. To find this defect, you have to know how things work. And InterNACHI is a great resource. Again, I'm pro InterNACHI, obviously. So to gain knowledge on how to inspect a certain system using a step-by-step procedure to find defects, ultimately, like this material defect, use InterNACHI's courses. So more condensate, more pipe problems. Didn't like this at all. There's the exhaust pipe. The gooseneck is fresh air intake, and the exhaust pipe is coming at you right there. Every heating system should have a recent service within the past year. If it doesn't have a recent service within the past year, I put it in the report as a recommendation. But we already have a reason for HVAC technician to come out and fix the problem. It's very easy, inexpensive, but it's actually a material defect. So your defects, for me, weren't necessarily based upon how much it costs to fix. It was really all about the safety hazard that might result if you don't fix it. You have to explain that to your client. According to the Home Inspection Standards of Practice, the inspector shall inspect the cooling system. There's the outdoor condenser, compressor unit, the serial number. I take a picture of that. I don't really put it in the report. There's some surface rust, no big deal. Electric shutoff switch, disconnect. There's a refrigerant line. It's insulated. It's on a nice base. Describe the location of the thermostat for the cooling system. It's the same thermostat as the heating system for this house. The cooling method, it's ductwork, same system as the heating system. Report as a needed correction any system that didn't operate, or if the cooling system was deemed inaccessible. No big deal, everything was accessible. There's a refrigerant line we saw on the outside going to the evaporator coil on the inside. There's a condensate pipe coming from the tray underneath the evaporator coil. There's probably an A-frame in there, and it drains down there, drains, and it's also picking up some condensate coming from the high efficiency furnace, and it drains into a sump pump. No, it drains into the basement perimeter drain. That's okay. Ideally, you want it to drain into the sump pump, which is right there, or something, maybe a sump pump itself, the little condensate pump. Condensate pump is a little plastic little thing that sits right next to the furnace and collects the condensate water and discharges it outside. You don't want to do this because you're just introducing moisture, standing water puddles in your basement. Plumbing is the next system. You want to inspect the main water shutoff valve for the plumbing system, and there it is there. My hand is on the valve, the ball valve, and there's the water meter, public water line. There's a jumper cable, pressure and check valve. The main fuel supply shutoff valve. Remember the meter on the outside, hazard location? There's a shutoff valve there, and there's also a shutoff valve near the appliance of every fuel burning appliance. There should be a shutoff valve. Water heating equipment, including the TPR valve. There's the water heater. Picture of the label. Picture of the capacity. Shutoff valve for the water coming in. Shutoff valve for the fuel coming in. There's a temperature gauge. I don't touch it. I touch it, but I don't move it. I just take a picture of it on how it works so I can explain to my clients how things work. And it's a draft inducer, exhaust pipe going outside, and TPR valve on the hot water tank extended to the floor, and it's not leaking. So that's good. You want to inspect the interior water supply, including all fixtures and faucets by running the water. All toilets for proper operation by flushing the toilets, and all sinks and tubs and showers for functional drainage. So we do that. There's a tub, there's a shower, there's a sink, toilet. I take pictures of everything that's operating and flowing, all the fixtures. Not that one that has a hose attached to it. I won't detach that hose, but that has a problem because it's not frost proof. Remember that. And there's the garage faucet. And you want to inspect the drain waste vent system. We see that there. There's in the attic. So from the roof, there's the terminations from the roof going through the attic, down into the fixtures itself, from the second floor to the first floor to the basement. There's the basement drainage pipes. You can't see everything, but the things I can see are the fittings that I can see, and they all look good and supported, and there's a clean out fitting there, which has a plumbing leak. So that should be fixed. And drainage sump pumps with accessible floats. Well, there's kind of like a drainage area there. Sometimes there's a sump pump there. That's a problem with the window well. But there's the discharge with the underground downspout discharge pipe there from the sump pump. There's no water, no standing water at the time of the inspection. and it's part of the radon pit depressurization active system, radon system. Describe whether it's public or private. Well, if you have a water meter like that, it's public. Location of the main water shutoff valve, we already saw that. It's right there by the meter. Location of the main fuel shutoff valve, it's right there. Location of any observed fuel storage equipment system, we don't have any, like a underground oil storage tank, or hopefully it's not underground, or a propane tank. The capacity of the water heating system equipment, 38 gallons. Take a picture of that. Report as in need of correction any deficiencies in the water supply by viewing the functional flow in 2 fixtures operated simultaneously. So what I do in every bathroom is I turn on the sink, turn on the shower, flush the toilet. That's 3 fixtures. And I take a look to see if there's any problems with the functional flow coming out of the shower head. Deficiencies in the installation of the hot and cold water faucets. Hot on the left, cold on the right. Active plumbing leaks. Nope, I didn't see any there. Any toilets that were damaged. Yeah, I actually had a damaged toilet seat on that one. You could group the bathrooms together in your inspection report, or you can put them all under plumbing, or maybe under interior. So this is the first floor half bath. That's the toilet. That's the valve. I push against the side of the toilet with the side of my leg to make sure that the toilet is secured to the floor. There aren't any problems with the wax ring. And I look at the valve, see if there are any water problems there, any leaks. I use the dry hand, my palm, and I wipe the bottom of the valve, and also wipe the bottom of every water trap to see if it's leaking on my hand. Best tool, don't leave home without it. First floor half bath sink. Check the bottom of that sink and also the drain pipes. And then GFCI, every bathroom receptacle, GFCI, first floor half bath vent. Second floor half bath, second floor full bath. There's hot and cold water, no plumbing leaks, flush the toilet a couple times. There's the shutoff valve for the toilet, functional flow from the shower. There's the tub, tiles. I pound on the tiles with my hand. I even take a picture of it. Sometimes my hand goes through. That's no big deal. You grab the soap dish. If there's something to hold on to, if somebody needs to hold on to something, make sure you pull on that. A couple 100 pounds, it should be able to hold in any direction, just like a railing. Second floor full bath has some watermarks at the bottom corner where maybe some of the shower water coming from the shower head kind of drained there. There's some watermarks on the vinyl flooring. I don't see any wood rot, but I like to press my hand and my toe with my foot right there just to make sure that there isn't any water damage. Second floor full bath, GFCI protection. There's the door, an exhaust fan. And if there's a plumbing access panel behind the shower or tub, I'll take a look at that to see if there are any plumbing leaks. I'll use that. There's a trap there, no plumbing leaks. Master bath, there's the sink, no leaks at the trap, GFCI protection. Master bath has that crack in the toilet seat, and the functional flow is good. Tile, pounding on the tiles, the grout looks good, the sealant looks good. There's no problems here at the corner where the tub meets the wall and the floor. The door is okay. Fan turns on. No watermarks. Electrical. Brent says, I use your template that I slightly customize on Spectora for all my inspections. Really great software with automation. Cool. I'm glad it helped. Justin said the same thing. I've been using Spectora for a really long time. I like the template. I'm curious if I can combine the heating and cooling system into one category on the template since I'm in Florida, the majority of, yeah, I mean, they're all customizable. Everything is customizable. So it works really well for me, may not work at all for you, and that's okay. But every software should be customizable so that you can change the heading, the colors, the size of the font, the number of pictures, and the groupings of chapters or sections or parts or systems, and no matter how you like it, you can have systems, like you're inspecting systems, and then within the system you can have components. You can also inspect by rooms too. So awesome. Can you provide the location of the checklist that we can import on our software again? It's a long URL. Apologize for that. You can just email your education team, education@internachi.org, and ask for the checklists. You can go to any nachi.org page at the top right corner, search for inspection checklists. That should help you, Caleb. David asks, do you have any suggestions for income streams as certified licensed home inspectors in addition to home inspections? Yeah, go to nachi.org/certification, nachi.org/certification, and get certified in things that were prompted by your business plan, because you took the home inspection business course, and we ask you, what are the services do you think your clients like? And InterNACHI has marketing that can help you with that conversation. For example, if you're down in the basement, let's say, and you're looking around and it looks like there's water intrusion or watermarks or maybe even mold, we have a little flyer. It's called a rack card, and it tells you what to say. It says, while I'm here, you flip it over, would you like me to inspect for mold? Because I see indications of potential water intrusion in your house, water problems in your house, and water and drywall, it can create mold problems. It says it a lot better than I do. That's the problem with home inspectors. We don't know what to say in order to sell services. So InterNACHI has these pieces of marketing that help you with your pitch, your elevator pitch, your sales pitch, in order to bundle services, especially sell something while you're at the inspection. So you just hand over the mold card and let them review it. InterNACHI also has promo videos to help you sell ancillary inspections. So you can get a device, an iPad or a tablet, or use your own phone or something and play some videos. And it's all about selling ancillary services while you're doing the inspection. And you just give the iPad to your client and they can go through and scroll through and watch these videos about the importance of hiring you to do a pool inspection while you're performing a home inspection, for example. Okay, hope that answered. Electrical. Standards of practice, there's a lot to inspect. Let's go through it. The service drop. If you're wondering about electrical terminology, you want to get it just right. You don't want to call a line a cable, or a conduit, or if it's not that. So inside the how to perform residential electrical inspections course, we go over electrical service terminology. You want to use the right terms. So service drop, you want to inspect that if it's there. It could be overhead or underground, lateral. Overhead service conductors or attachment point, the service head, gooseneck, drip loops, service mast, service conduit, raceway, electrical meter, and base. So we have an electric meter, right, at this house. No service mast, but there's an underground conduit in this inspection picture, and there's also a service entrance cable going to the main disconnect at the main electrical panel board there. So the main disconnect at the panel is 100 amps. There it is. I'm pointing to it. Main service disconnect must be clearly marked. The main disconnect must be either inside or outside the house, as close to the service conductors where they enter the house. It can't be in a bathroom. No more than 6 breakers can be used to disconnect the service conductors. Panel boards, you have to inspect the panel boards, electrical panels, overcurrent protection devices, circuit breakers, hardly any fuses anymore. And they have to be all clearly marked. We're missing some specific identification of each breaker there. You don't have to pull the dead front cover off. In fact, I don't recommend it. I don't think you should. You're not required to by the Home Inspection Standards of Practice. You're not required to by InterNACHI. You're not required to by me. But remember, the Home Inspection Standards of Practice is the minimum. Some of us exceed that standards of practice. I pull the dead front cover off when I think it's safe to do so. And I can be consistent with all my clients in doing that. Now take a look at the wiring inside. Service grounding and bonding. Now the upper end of the electrode, the grounding rod, should be flush with the ground or just below the ground surface so that the end of that rod and attachment are protected from damage. If you find a rod sticking out of the ground, that's a defect. It should be at or just below the soil surface. And this inspection image here, I don't even see a rod. So that's an inspection restriction. And we have a link to the InterNACHI course on how to inspect electrical, how to perform electrical inspections. And we go over grounding in that course. We also go over bonding. There's a bonding jumper wire. Bonding is required where needed to ensure electrical continuity and the ability to carry a fault to a path to grounding. And the metal water pipe must be bonded to the service equipment enclosure. So electrical bonding and grounding is difficult to understand. No problem. We have training for home inspectors. Inside, there's a chapter on grounding and bonding inside the how to perform residential electrical inspections course. And that's free and online course for InterNACHI members. According to the standards, you have to inspect the representative number of switches, light fixtures, receptacles, things like that, and AFCIs if they're installed. GFCIs, you have to inspect the GFCIs and test them. And you have to inspect the presence of smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. And smoke alarms must be powered by the building wiring and a battery backup. They should be interconnected so that one alarm activates them all. And they need to be in each bedroom, outside each sleeping area, on each story, including the basement. And CO, carbon monoxide detectors, are required for houses that have a fuel-fired appliance or an attached garage with an opening to the house. So that's many homes. And they're required to be outside of each bedroom and in each bedroom with a fuel burning appliance, and they need to be interconnected. And you have to describe the main service disconnects amperage rating, but only if it's labeled, and the type of wiring observed. So there's 100 amps. I use one finger for 100, two fingers for 200, 1.5 for 150, obviously. Type of wiring observed is the NMB. And report as in need of correction any problems with the integrity of the conductors, the insulation, the drip loop, vertical clearances from grades. We don't have any problems there. Any unused breakers that weren't covered up, no problems there. Any tested receptacle that had problems, wasn't alive, polarity was incorrect, cover was not in place, GFCIs weren't testing properly, any evidence of arcing or heat or melting, or the receptacle wasn't grounded or not secured to anything at all with the electrical as a defect in need of correction. And the absence of smoke in our carbon monoxide detectors. And we didn't have any problems there. The next section is fireplace. We don't have a fireplace. We don't have a chimney. And then the next system is attic, insulation, and ventilation. And at this moment, if I get into the attic after about 2 hours into my home inspection, I know I'm doing good because I've given myself 3 hours to perform the entire inspection. So remember, I did the roof, exterior. It's all about time management and how you do an inspection. Maybe you do the kitchen first, and that's just fine. For me, I like to get there early. I do the roof, exterior, and then the heating system. There's the electrical system. There's a hot water tank. There's the foundation, right? And then I move up and I do maybe some interior things, or maybe I just go into the attic and move my way down. Second floor, first floor, bedrooms, bathrooms. I'm going for the garage, and then I get into the kitchen. That's my process. And when I'm in the kitchen, I know I'm home free. Basically wrapping up in a really nice place. Everybody loves the kitchen. And maybe I'll even print out the report if there's plenty of time, or I'll just click a button with my software and send the summary and the entire report later. The inspector shall inspect insulation in unfinished spaces, including attics, crawl spaces, and foundation areas, and ventilation in those same areas. So I get into the attic, can't really crawl around too much. There is no flooring. So I'm standing on roof trusses. I don't see any modifications, any cuts, any damage to any truss components, any cord. I take a measurement of the insulation. It's about a foot thick. It's really good. And then all the mechanical exhaust systems, and that's for the kitchen, bathrooms, and laundry area. And in the kitchen, I have my little microwave tester. You put it in there with a cup of water and you turn it on and it glows. It's the shock and awe of doing a microwave test. Every bathroom should be exhausted outside. There are some exceptions with windows. Here's the dryer exhaust. This is a mechanical exhaust system for the dryer. You shouldn't have any restrictions to the flow. You can't. It's a fire hazard. And usually there's problems with older homes and the exhaust hood, the termination of the mechanical exhaust for the dryer exhaust. So it's not a screen, but it is a restriction and it really shouldn't be there. And you can take a look at fire hazards and major defects and how they're described in the code at the International Residential Code, Chapter 15, 1502.3, duct termination. The inspector shall describe the type of insulation observed, fiberglass blown in, and the approximate average depth of the insulation. I like to measure it and take a picture. That's in my report. Inspector shall report as in need of correction the general absence of insulation or ventilation in those unfinished spaces. It's all looking good. And I'm doing the interior, doors, windows, and interior. And it's a representative number of windows and doors by opening and closing them. Floors, walls, and ceilings, stairs, steps, landings, stairways, and ramps, rails, guards, and handrails, garage doors. So open and close, windows and doors, representative number. I find a crack in one of the windows. This door lock doesn't work. The fan turns on, that's good. Take some pictures of the interior. A little cosmetic defect, a blemish there by the railing. The door is looking good. Ceiling lights, wall receptacles, windows, slider door. And I like to check the ceiling on the first floor ceiling that's underneath the bathrooms upstairs. Inspector shall describe a garage door as either manually operated or with a garage door opener. And we have the 10-step checklist on how to inspect a garage door opener. And there's the opener itself. Got to report as in need of correction any spacing that's improper at the guard, the intermediate balusters of the guard or railing, whatever you want to call it. Spindles for the rail, spindles and rails for steps, stairways, guards, and railings. Photoelectric eyes, they need to be operated properly, and you can trip them with your foot. Or any window that was obviously fogged. Remember in the attic, we had those fogged window panes, or displaying other problems like broken seals or cracks. There's me testing the garage door laser eyes. There's a fogged window pane there, second floor bedroom. There's another one. There's a crack in the window pane there. Laundry. You may want to include the laundry in the interior section or as a separate room that you inspected. GFCIs are required in the laundry now. There's the gas-fired shut-off valve for the gas-fired dryer. The rubber hoses, they're just not reliable. Should be pressure-tested hoses. There's the hot and cold water shut-off valves. They're missing their caps around the drywall. I forgot the technical term. Extrusion. Something like that. The little caps around there. You like to see them right around there because it's just a cosmetic kind of thing. You want to see a pan underneath the second floor clothes washer, especially if it's on the second floor, just in case there's a plumbing leak. And there's the exhaust. And we saw the problem with the duct termination of the exhaust outside. Kitchen, you may want to include it in the interior section or as a separate room. I like to have it as a separate room. And run hot and cold water at the sink and the garbage disposal. And the drain looks good, GFCI protection at all the receptacles. I run a short cycle at the dishwasher. If it leaks, great. I'm not responsible for leaks. I'm responsible for finding them and reporting them if I do see them. Gas stove shouldn't tilt, have its safety device. The burners turn on and off, the oven. I just I don't bake anything. I just make sure that everything turns on and then off. The same thing with the microwave. This doesn't exhaust outside. Ideally it would. It's filled with debris or personal items. I can't see what's going on. And there's a little cosmetic thing with the trim. And that's it for the inspection itself. Those are all the inspection images. And now is the report itself. And I'm just going to go through real quick the report itself so you get a feel for what our inspection report that I would write looks like. A lot of pictures. More pictures, the better. So I put 3 in a row. I take pictures in groups of 3. Far away, 3 pictures far away of a system. I move in halfway, I take 3 more pictures, and I move in to where I can actually touch them. And then I take those 3 pictures. Roofing, roof covering system, right? The roof is a system. And then the components of the system is listed in the report, and that's how I inspect. So roofing, method of evaluation, estimated age, the condition, the number of layers, the flashing, the ventilation, and gutters and downspouts. Exterior is another part, another chapter. It also flows the standards of practice and also flows with the inspection process. I did the report with the roof first because that's the first section in the standards of practice, I believe, and that's the first section that I inspect. I inspect the roof first. That's the first chapter in my report. I inspect the exterior second. That's the second chapter in my report. System and then components. Exterior system, surface water management, the grading, the sump pump, the window well, the house wall conditions, the house wall coverings, exterior components like the driveway and the parking, the patio and the porch, steps, handrails, exterior faucets, receptacles and GFCIs, public gas meter, dryer vent hood, garage. So it's system and then components like heating system. Describe this type of system as gas-fired forced air. Components, thermostat, electrical shutoff switch, gas shutoff valve, gas burners, flue connection pipe, air filter, service record, estimated age. And there's the air conditioner, there's the plumbing, there's the shutoff valves, hot water tank, electrical system with the components, meter condition, grounding outside, main electrical service line, disconnect, breaker sizing, breaker label, wire labeling, wire type, circuit breakers, inspection sticker. And there's the basement. And I like to put those inspection restriction pictures right in the report so everybody knows the condition of the home. That was the inspection restrictions that I had to deal with during the inspection at the time of the inspection. And there's the attic and the insulation and the bathrooms, different section there with all the bathrooms grouped together. I like that. There's the laundry. There's the interior stuff like carbon monoxide detectors, smoke detectors, windows, doors, receptacles, walls, ceilings and floors, and stairs. And then the kitchen is the last section of the report with the components of the system of the kitchen there. And then looks like I had recommend asking the seller of the property about wall switch apparently missing located near the garage interior door. Oh, interesting. And then I had an absentee client. So my client was actually not at the inspection. So I wrote, we prefer to have our clients present during the inspection for a few reasons, including we can answer all of your questions and address your concerns as they come up. We both can see the condition of the property at the time of the inspection. And I can elaborate on what may be complicated or technical. And as much as you were not present during the entire inspection, we encourage you to read the whole report, not just the summary report, and consult with us directly. Call us anytime. You can hire us again for a walkthrough prior to closing. Also, please verify anything that we may have said orally, but may not have documented in the report. That's kind of cool. And there's the standards practice, just a brief copy paste of the important parts, but you got to have that link to the standards of practice on the website. And there's illustrations. So you can add these illustrations if you wanted to. I put a few illustrations in there, like the hot water tank And there's the grounding and bonding and notching of a floor joist. And there's the radon mitigation system illustration. And then report conclusion. I try to be very clear about what we do and what we don't do. For example, it says, we've made every effort to provide you with an accurate assessment of the condition of the property and its components, and to alert you to significant defects. However, we may not have tested everything or opened everything or identified every problem. And because our inspection is essentially visual, latent defects could exist. We cannot see behind walls. I love that sentence. Therefore, you should not regard our inspection as a guarantee or a warranty. It's simply a report on the general condition of our property at a given point in time. As a homeowner, you should expect problems to occur. Roofs will leak, basements may have water problems, and systems may fail without warning. We cannot predict future events. So I like that type of setting the expectation, especially in a report conclusion. This isn't a warranty, and I'm not guaranteeing that I can find every defect, and something might happen, like roofs leak. If the roof leaks, well, it certainly wasn't leaking during the inspection. Otherwise, it would be in the report. And I'm not responsible for future weather events, especially. Let's see. And then pre-closing walkthrough. The walkthrough prior to closing is the time for the client to inspect the property. Conditions can change between the time of a home inspection and the time of closing, right? So defects or problems that were not found during the home inspection may be discovered during the walkthrough. So you should hire me to do a pre-closing. Let's see. Any defect or problem discovered during the walkthrough should be negotiated with the owner or seller of the property prior to closing. Following the recommendations for the pre-closing walkthrough for your new house, consider hiring a certified home inspector to assist you. Kind of like that. Kind of like that closing paragraph of information to make sure if the client really has a good idea of what a home inspection is all about and is encouraged to take action prior to moving in. And if there were problems during the inspection, they should be in the report, and you may find problems after the inspection because roof leaks, skylights leak, things break, things fail, and a home inspection is only a short visual only inspection to report upon the condition at the time of the inspection. It's like a snapshot in time. This is a letter that we leave on the kitchen counter for every seller. It says, we understand that a home inspection can be stressful. This is for the occupant or the seller. During the inspection, we make every effort to respect your home and leave it as we found it. All of our inspectors wear indoor shoes only. And during the inspections, we look over 500 different items we check. And some of them we turn on and off, and we try to put everything back to normal. You may want to check these things. We may have overlooked some of these things. So we leave that for the seller. And speaking of leaving, it looks like I have about a couple of hundred questions to get through. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get to them. So I'm going to look at them, and then you can feel free to email me or your education team. I'm on the contact page, and right there, natchi.org/contact. You can email me your question or email your education team for the question, but I'll take a couple here. And I know we've gone way past our scheduled time, so I really appreciate it. Ashley asks, as a newbie, I'm finding the hardest part is learning and setting up which software I want to use. When inspecting, do you use software as a guide when going through the property? I find it distracting to do this, but it seems the norm. Well, and Timothy replies as well. Well, I use my mobile device, which has my checklist, my software on it, as a guide. I think we spoke about this before, so that I reduce the number of mistakes that I make, and I I increase my efficiency. I do more inspecting in the same amount of time when I have my software in my hand, and I make fewer mistakes. So that's what I would use a software for. I wouldn't use software on a laptop. I would use it on a mobile device. So you can inspect and write the report while inspecting. So at the end of the inspection report, at the end of the inspection, you click a button and it's all compiled together and you can send that report to your client. I do it immediately. I don't review it in the evening. Maybe in the beginning you can, so you say things in the way that you want to say them and the report looks good. But after a while, after about 1,000 inspections, you're basically done at the end of the inspection. You click out, you send the report, clicking out. You send the report and you send the summary. And you're done with the report. You don't work at night. A lot of my competition used to work at night, but I didn't, because I was writing the report as I was inspecting. And it just takes practice. So practice, practice, practice. Practice inspecting, like I was saying earlier in the class. Practice on your house 10 times with your software. Crash and burn when it doesn't matter. I'm only looking at the roof at the edge, not mounting. Does the ladder still need to extend up 3 feet? I'm looking at, yeah. When you set up your ladder, we don't care if you actually step on the ladder and climb it, right? You have to set it up properly, just as if you were going to climb it. And it doesn't matter how far you go up the ladder or where you go or where you're setting it up. There's a rule, there's a standard safety practice for setting up ladders. And one of them is you have to extend it up far enough above the gutter edge or the roof edge. And it's 3 feet. And you have to have it just at the right angle. And you have to climb a ladder too. There's a way to climb a ladder so that you are in contact with the ladder properly with 3 points. So there's all this stuff that you can learn in our home inspector safety course about ladders. Do you offer pre-listing inspections done for sellers? Yes. So go to moveincertified.com, moveincertified.com. And a pre-listing inspection is just like a home inspection, but it's marketed in a different way. So go to moveincertified.com. Is there a way to learn how to use the correct wording to writing out an inspection? Yep, we have a free online course on how to write inspection reports. It's a defect recognition and report writing course. When there is sealant needed on a boot, do you all report as a needed sealant or needs replaced? I know if my home is replacing the boot, I'm just curious. Whenever I see sealant where there should be flashing, that's a defect. Say it again. Whenever I see sealant where there should be flashing, that's a defect. Sealant is like a Band-Aid. That's it. You can't possibly rely on sealant. So it's good to have, good to seal up some things, fastener heads, good to fill in some areas with a flexible sealant or something like that. But if it's supposed to have like flashing, let's say you have a masonry fireplace and the counter flashing isn't cut into the masonry, but is just the top of the step flashing is sealed, right? Obviously, the sealant has replaced the counter flashing. The counter flashing is what's needed. The sealant isn't. So whenever I see sealant around a vent pipe, main stack vent pipe, and the rubber gasket, the neoprene rubber membrane around the gasket has a bunch of sealant around it, that's a defect. There's no need for sealant there when you have proper flashing. Maybe that's a gasket, a rubber gasket, or maybe it's metal or copper. But sealant cannot replace flashing. Can hardly improve it as well. There's time for sealant, for sure. There's absolutely time for sealant to seal away air leaks and to help divert water away. But if it's replacing flashing, that's a defect. That's where I'm at. When's the House of Horrors going to reopen? Yeah, darn good question. Don't know. As soon as we all think it's safe enough, I'm ready to go. Does InterNACHI offer free infrared certification for members? Yes. nachi.org/IR. nachi.org/IR. It's a free online training and certification program to achieve a credential that's a federal registration certification mark. And it has a special logo that comes with it and a certificate of completion that comes with it. And you should take that course and get certified before you use an infrared camera during an inspection. Let's see. Michael, I report everything I see, good and bad. The more you put in a report, the less phone calls you get from your clients asking for clarification. I agree with that. That sounds real good. When inspecting a home built in 1970, do you inspect it today's standard? Gary asks. What I do is I don't care when the house was built. I inspect a home without any regard to when the house was built. So if you find that someone like a homeowner or a real estate agent is saying, well, it's been historically archived or historically recorded, or it was built to code back then, doesn't have to be improved now. I don't care about those statements, right? What I care about is, for example, if the house was built when GFCIs were not required in the kitchen, that's a defect. If I'm inspecting a home that was built to code back then and there's missing GFCIs in the kitchen, that's a serious, somebody could get killed. I'm not going to put in a report, well, it was built to code back then. That's like, oh, it's safe. It's not safe. If the deck railing has space between the spindles that's large enough for a child to fall through, but it was built to code back then, the kid doesn't know. The kid doesn't know. The kid doesn't know that, oh, that railing was built to code back then. Stop falling through it, right? I don't care when the deck was built. If there's space enough between the spindles for a child to fall through with a fatal fall, it's a defect. If it was built new, if it's a brand new deck and there's space enough for a 4-inch sphere to go through the railing, that's a defect. We got to get the builder and the deck contractor out here today. Incredible that they're building like that. If it was built 40 years ago and has space enough for a child to fall through, it's still a defect. This is amazing. It's so much fun to be a home inspector because the existing homes, we call them existing homes, homes that have already been lived in. We inspect new homes and existing homes, usually existing homes, mostly existing homes. If we inspect an existing home, the homes that we inspect were built to code. Sure, they were built to code, but code changes. And code changes, unfortunately, because someone got hurt, especially fire code. A lot of firefighters get hurt, and then we improve the code. So we eliminate that hazard as much as possible and make things safer and better. Some of the code changes because of building science. Like we know we need more insulation and air sealing, right? We need thicker walls, but and better ventilation and exhaust systems. Sometimes it's about building science, but it's usually about someone getting hurt. So if you find a defect, like open space between the spindles of a deck railing or guard, large enough for a child to fall through, or missing GFCIs, right? Or missing smoke detectors that weren't required back then because the house was built to code back then. Call it out as a defect. You should inspect without any regard to age of the home. I think we should just wrap it up. What do you think? Because I could take questions all day. We could be here literally all day, and it'd be fun. But I don't want to overstay my welcome. I just want to thank you very much for being part of this class. This is a lot of fun for me. I love talking about home inspections with other home inspectors and helping folks who want to be great home inspectors and run successful home inspection businesses. And we have everything that an individual needs to become a great home inspector and operate and own a successful home inspection business right here at InterNACHI.org. Feel free to contact us. We're on the contact page. And feel free to register for the next webinar. If you can't make it, it's okay. Register anyways. We video record every one of them so you can watch it later. My name is Ben Gromicko. I'm from InterNACHI. Thank you so much. Stay safe and healthy out there, everyone. Really appreciate it. I'll see you on the next webinar, okay? Bye.